Welcome to another episode of Unique Professions. Well, everyone is born naked. It is a matter of fact. But my guest today, well, sometimes she is naked for her work. That might, some people might be scared of that, intimidated. My guest is a life model. Hello, Jane, how are you?
G'day, thanks for inviting me on, David. I'm very well, thank you.
Now, tell me, what is a life model, for those people who don't know?
Well, a life model, an art model, a figurative model, a draped or undraped model, whatever you want to call it, is it's a person. But whereas models for fashion, photography are normally moving around, we are very still. We sit still or stand still to varying degrees, from 1 minute to 3 minutes to 3 hours or whatever, for artists, so they can draw us or sculpt us or even photograph us if it's like in an art sense. And we can be nude. We don't always have to be nude. Sometimes we're fully clothed. Sometimes we've got a bit of clothing on. But basically, we're still for artists.
Now, how did you get into this role?
Well, many years ago in a land far, far away, Scarborough. I
It's literally about 10 minutes from here, but that's okay.
I was on holiday, and I'm from the country, and I didn't want to go home from the city to the country for summer, so I got a job door knocking, and I was selling things door to door, and I knocked on this guy's door, and as anybody knows that's been in sales, you're always trying to build a relationship with someone, find a point of interest. So he opened the door and said, "Oh wow, they're beautiful photographs on your wall. They were wedding photographs." And he said, "Oh, thank you. I'm a photographer. I'm a professional wedding photographer. Would you like to come in and see my photographs?" Because artists, we love showing our work. And I said, "Yes, I'd love to see your work because it's beautiful, like lovely." And so anyway, he became a friend, and I would help him test out spots around Perth for his wedding photography, because the light, if anybody knows anything about photography, it's all about the light.
Yes.
And then in Perth, so many places that are great are right near the coast. We have the Fremantle Doctor, the wind that comes in and the light changes. So he was testing out all those kind of things. Now his assistant, she was also a photographer, and she wanted to enter a competition, the Australian Photographer of the Year competition. She had an idea. I want a female body, and I want to body paint them silver, and we're going to go out into the wilds of Perth, and I'm going to take photos in black and white. So that's what we did. So the first time I was ever nude, I was in public. I'm very public, but I was body painted silver, and off we went. And it's funny, being body painted, you don't actually feel like you're nude, but I swear I was grey for a week after that. Couldn't get that stuff off. But anyway, that's how I started. And so then we'd do some other nude and semi-nude shoots in their studio, once again testing out, cameras, lighting, etc. And then they said, "You should go to TAFE and try modelling there." So I did. So that was a long time ago, about 30 years ago, down in Fremantle. That was my first actual real life model gig.
And I know that you've travelled overseas, if I'm correct.
Correct.
Yes. How was that experience, bringing back kind of what you've learnt and what you've done over there? Was it a different kind of culture shock when you went from Perth, Fremantle, Scarborough, to overseas as a life model?
Well, so the places that I modelled in London. That was the Slade School of Art, which was amazing. So it's a beautiful old building, and it was in the middle of winter. They had all these young students from the UK and the US, and they were all freezing because I had all the heaters on me. But that was great, and it's really wonderful to model in somewhere an old building, because drawing of people, we've been doing it since forever, because drawing people is the way we tell stories. We still tell stories by drawing people. So it was really great to be doing it in such an old place with so much history. That's pretty much all of the UK. Doing anything in London was like, oh wow, this is great. Yeah. I feel like I'm connected to my history that we don't have here in Australia. So that was great. I've also modelled in Israel, which is an incredibly arty country. That was amazing. So I modelled on kibbutz and moshavs and the Tel Aviv University and the Avni Art School, and that's an incredibly arty country. And it was amazing because I don't speak Hebrew, and a lot of the teachers were not speaking English. Their students were doing some interpreting for me, but it's great because it's like an international language. It's a body, we know how it works. All I have to know really before I start is how long is this pose going to be. So that was really wonderful, and just to see how artistic Israel was. Every session had so many people in it. It was really wonderful. So that was great. And of course, during COVID, we all went online and started doing things online via Zoom. They're not just for boring meetings.
Yes, don't be Zoom meetings.
Yeah, exactly. So you're on mute. That's okay. We can be on mute. So that was a really interesting experience. I think at the beginning of COVID, we all we were worried about being nude online, so we were kind of semi-dressed or whatever. But after 2 weeks, we're going, oh, whatever. Nobody's going to put me deep fake me into a porn flick. Yep. This will be fine. So and then it really started to get interesting because a Zoom session is very different to a real life session. They work wonderfully hand in hand, but they're very different. But it was great to see the artists and connect with people from all around the world. That was probably the best bit about it, and you can make that connection.
So how does a Zoom session of life model actually work? What does that entail? Because I'm trying to visualise it, but yeah.
So well, I'll tell you how shall I tell you how in real life drawing session?
Sure, go.
Let's start with that.
Yeah.
So how does the traditional life drawing session work? So basically, a bunch of artists turn up. Let's just say it's a community life drawing session. So there's you can either go for an educational session, a class or a workshop at a university or a one-off by a painter or whatever, or you can just go to a community art session where everyone turns up and we're here to draw. So everyone just forms a circle or a semicircle around the model. Somebody is facilitating and they say, great, we're going to do 3-minute poses, we're going to do 5 of them, then we're going to do a bunch of 10-minute poses, and then we'll do like a half hour or 45. Everyone is mentally prepared then. And then they just draw or paint or whatever it is they're doing at the session. So that's pretty simple. We have a few breaks when we need it. So the way that works, or doesn't work, and also in those sessions, the great thing about in real life, if you don't like the angle that you can see from where you are, you can move. Nobody ever does because they're comfy and they've got their easel all set up. But you can move around to a different place. Like, I just want to draw portraits, or I just want to draw backs, or whatever it is. Or this is a really weird angle, the foreshortening's odd. So they can move. In a Zoom session, this is probably the biggest difference. The session is set up by either the model, I was very fortunate to have my partner doing this for me, so he would make sure that the camera angle was good, that would maximise the shot of the body in the screen, and they would set that, make sure the lighting was great, and then that was the same image that everyone got to draw. And as some artists would say, it's great because you've taken out the option stress. I can only draw this, so this is what I'm drawing. I don't have to worry about moving. I know it's good because it's been set up. You can already see it. So the great thing about Zoom, though, is that normally if you're in a real life setting, there's only so many angles you can see. Like, you're sitting down, your eyeballs are at this level, you can stand up, you can sit on the ground, but really you can't get too close to the model or whatever. In a Zoom session, you can have the camera above the model, you can have it right on the ground and looking up. You can do all of these really cool things with it. You can even have 2 or 3 cameras on the same model, so people can actually choose the pose that they want to see, if it's from above, it's from below, if it's from regular eye level. So that's kind of cool as well. So that's probably the main difference with Zoom versus in real life.
And who chooses the poses that are going to be drawn? Because when you do fashion photography, like you said, usually, for more often than not, it's the cameraman or camera person, just saying, I want this, I want that, or it can sometimes be the fashion designer, on set or whatever. But so who's actually, when you're doing a live drawing, saying, I want you to pose here? Is it the artist's choice, or is it actually the model?
So it works in like a couple of ways. So with fashion, so I've done a little fashion photography as well. So often the model will be doing something. They'll be moving, and so if they're standing still or stand and deliver, the photographer, if they're good, this is what makes a good photographer, they will zhuzh it. They'll go, put your head up, put it down, like left a bit, right a bit. So they'll take that move and they'll manipulate it so they get the right pose, because you've all seen those photos of yourself like, oh, if only somebody had told me that my mouth was hanging open or my hand looked stupid or whatever, I would have changed and it would have been perfect.
Yeah.
So that's what a photographer does. In a life drawing session, a good model knows how to pose. They know what their body can do. They know what the group is capable of. They don't do anything too difficult, and they judge what kind of pose they're going to do according to the time. So if it's a 2-minute pose, you could do a headstand if you really wanted to. I'm not going to do a headstand. But if it's you do something quite different to a 3-hour pose, something quite dynamic for the short one, a good model will know how to place their body so it's interesting and sustainable. That's, you have to be creative in order to come up with interesting poses. Sometimes artists will be looking for something. I'm trying to draw this drawing. I'm looking for some kind of really emotive, grief or something. Can you give me that? So sometimes it's like you're acting because we're trying to tell a story with our body. So new models will often look at books of the old classics of paintings and drawings or whatever. Sometimes I'll say, just imagine you're doing something, whether it's like an Olympic sport. We're javelin throwing, we're playing basketball, we're fishing for trout, whatever it is. But that will, that will give you some idea of a move or a pose or something. So sometimes you'll do a pose, get into it, kind of wriggle a bit. Can I sustain this for however long it's going to be? You might just zhuzh it a bit. Yeah, good. Once you're settled, then they'll start drawing it. Sometimes the artist will ask you to move a little, and it's usually to do with the placement of the light. So you've got good shadow or good highlight or whatever. But it's we work together as a team to get a good pose for however long it's going to be.
Excellent. Now, the one thing I was to like modelling, when some people may think, it's sexualised, and some people might get the wrong idea that when you pose, let's say you're posing naked, it's for and drawing is sexual gratification. Let's go to a drawing class so I can see a naked body, that kind of thing. What do you think of that kind of mindset?
It's really interesting. It's that titillation of nudity. It's like, this is what our civilization, this is what our society is all about. Nudity is like, we get this all the time on social media. Oh my God, it's a nipple. Oh, big ass.
Let's censor that.
Yeah, that's like, oh no, couldn't possibly. No, it's all porn.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. Or people giggle, or whatever it is. But newbies will do this, not seasoned artists, because once you get into it, and also it's not just artists, people that will come along to draw, new people that think, I'm going to see some nudity.
Yeah.
Some models will feel like posing, there'll be some titillation and gratification in that as well. But once you start modelling and once you start trying to draw, once you start modelling, you'll get into a pose and going, oh wow, this really hurts.
This is not sexual.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God, why did I decide to do this for 10 minutes? Holy mackerel. This hurts. It's not sexual at all. It's painful.
Yeah.
And artists will, like a lot of people do life drawing because it's a very mindful activity. You really can't think of anything else while you're doing it because you're trying to capture the human form. Like how does that arm look right? You can't even do that with the body. What the heck? It's a whole bunch of problems you're trying to solve and capture on paper. So once you start doing it, you realize, wow, I'm trying to capture this. This does not look right. Wow, I got that bit. So it might start as titillation, but once people are into it, it becomes something else. It becomes either the pain or the creativity or trying to capture it. Yeah, that's it. And it's like an enjoyable pain. It's a cathartic pain, like a Brazilian bikini wax. It's cathartic and cleansing pain. It's great. It's good for you.
Now, how does a class, let's say, and I know that you've experienced this before, where when, a life drawing class, sometimes they want, some skinny, 20-year-old girl, and then, they get, a 60-year-old bloke, and, is there sexism in the industry?
Absolutely. There is absolutely sexism. I love this question. Absolutely sexism in the industry, David. Some people refuse to draw men. And that's usually other men that refuse to draw men. Yeah, like,
I was thinking that.
Yeah, like, oh no. And often they do only want to draw 20-year-old skinny women.
Yeah.
I've seen men, like, I'm not 20, I'm 50-something.
Yeah.
So I've seen men walk out of sessions where they know that I'm posing because I'm not a 20-year-old there. And they do the same when men turn up to pose. So there's absolutely sexism. And in some sessions, they would rather draw somebody with no experience that's 20-something than someone with a lot of experience that's like over 40. So yeah, there's definitely sexism. There's also some interesting sexism on the other way with regard to like pay parity. So normally like we all get paid the same amount of money until you hit the hens parties. So hens parties, live drawing, are a whole nother creature. And so and they're usually, like, I like to do a hens party, but I like to pose. Like, as a woman, for women, it should be women. And it's like, you know, like a celebration of femininity and all our bodies and be confident, like, yeah, cool. You know, that's a great thing. But some hens parties are all about, hey, it's almost a pseudo stripper.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And I was also going to say that, with just going back to my, the people wanting that 20-year-old, skinny blonde. That's almost where I was going back to that titillation factor as well.
Absolutely. They, like a lot of the artists, I mean, a lot of those artists are excellent artists, but they don't even know that they're engaging in that kind of sexist behaviour. But yeah, it's usually men that walk out of the sessions. Women enjoy drawing. They want diversity.
Yeah.
They want women. They
Real
want
people.
men. They don't care. Just give us people, and we want good people, and we want different people and interesting people, and even people that like stand awkwardly. We don't care because it's different and weird, and we'll try and capture that as well. Yeah, that's it. So that's really interesting. But in a hens party, which is really all about titillation, those guys, they're just sexism in a different way. So they get paid maxi bucks for that, but they're basically gym gorillas. So that's a whole different world.
How do you find yourself in that space, in that hens party?
Do
you do it?
Oh yeah, well, I'll do hens parties when I like being the model, and I do a session where I guide people through it, and because they're really kind of scared of drawing, I find it interesting. When I'm teaching a live drawing session, often the newbie drawers are, I'm scared. Like, you'll know that you're keeping your clothes on. It's really funny. Like, you're keeping your clothes on. All you're doing is drawing, but some people are really frightened and nervous. Like, okay. But I love seeing them blossom and going, oh my goodness, I can create art. I'm not scared of bodies. Oh my goodness. And I love posing for women because I'm a woman. I have a body like they do. They can see, because it's not their body, they're looking at a female body without the same criticism that they would be looking at their own body. So with that distance mentally between bodies, they can look at my body and see the beauty in it, see the curves, see the strength. And somewhere in their subconscious, I want them, and they do, recognise that my body is their body. They have exactly those same curves. They have all of those same attributes. And if they can see the beauty in me and try and capture that on paper, somewhere in their subconscious, they will start recognising it in themselves. It's not something that you can tell people to like love your body and all of its curves and wrinkles and like
imperfections.
It's not. It's you can't tell someone to do it. You have to subconsciously do it. And life drawing is a wonderful way. So which is why I really like posing for women and for hens parties and all of that. And I also like to get the women to draw the hen as well. That's
cool.
that's really nice. So it's
good.
a whole different vibe.
Yep.
But saying that, I will also do like hens parties with a male model.
Yep.
It's a very different vibe.
Yep.
I try and keep bringing it back to creativity and you can't just objectify a nude body. It doesn't matter who it is. Blah blah blah. And I love when I use male models. I like to find ones that are dancers or performers or they're amazing. They're the best.
Flexibility.
Well, and they know how to pose and they know how to create drama and narrative with their body.
Exactly,
they're awesome. And so I like doing that. That's fun.
Do you find, I'm just going to go back a little bit with what you said, do you find men draw females differently rather than females drawing females? Do you find there's a particular split of difference?
Oh, this is a fun question. You talk about the male gaze.
Yeah. Compared to the female, because you said the females like the curves and the imperfections almost, but do the men just go for the breasts and the vagina?
I don't. Yeah, I know what you mean. And some I haven't seen those people in real life. I see those artists sometimes online, and that's what they specialise in, erotic.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, but in real life, not so much. And everyone draws everyone in their style. And more interestingly, it's not that they draw men and... they draw men and women differently because we are different bodies. So when I was in Israel, I used to pose with my friend Liron. So he was great. He was like a naturally muscular guy, and we'd be posing at the same session. I'm curvaceous Jane, and he was like naturally muscular. So it was a great compliment. So when we would pose, we would pose a week about, take alternate weeks at Tel Aviv University. And people would draw him like hard lines and cool, like with charcoal, because that was how he was built. With me, out come the watercolours. Because it's the flow. And it's not just how we're built, but it's how we stand. So he was standing in a very masculine, strong. And so, your medium, whatever you're using, if it's charcoal or pastels or something, strong mark making, ink, then you just draw differently or use straighter lines. But with a female form, and depending how they're posing, then so you go with the flow. So it's not so much that they will draw every woman the same or overly sexualized in that male gaze way. It's that they are open to the nuance of the bodies and the feeling and the energy that's going on. And some people just draw everybody in the same style. but whatever, because this is life drawing, so there's no rules, there's no right or wrong. People do life drawing and art for so many different reasons. They do it to get better, they do it to be mindful, they do it to I don't know, because it's a hobby.
It's something to do,
any of that, because it's a problem. How do I solve a problem like Maria? It's tricky and it's kind of fun and it's difficult, and so there's a great pleasure in achieving something that's difficult.
What, in your opinion, what makes a good life model? What are some of the characteristics that you have to have? I would assume, and this is going to go over my assumptions, you have to be at least confident in yourself. And that doesn't mean, for me, that doesn't mean you have to have like a, fabulous body or anything like that. You just have to be confident within yourself.
This is true. You do have to be confident, but that's kind of a learned thing. It's like, I'm a performer as well, so I'm a dancer. So I can be not confident, kind of scared, I don't know where this place is or whatever, but I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, okay, I might be feeling frumpy that day, or this costume is going to fall off or something. But I'm confident in what I'm doing. So once I start it and I know how this is going to work, then it's all good. Now I have to ask, what was that question again? Oh, confidence.
Confidence, and some of the attributes.
Yeah, so definitely confidence. I think creativity is probably the main thing. So for me, and I've seen an artist online talking about models and calling them artists, and I greatly appreciate that, good on you, Jim, because that's what I feel. A good model is an artist. It's a performance art.
Yes.
And I did mention that I'm a dancer, and I will say that performers and dancers in particular make the best life models, because we understand about creating a drama and a narrative and a story with our body. We understand about shifting our weight from foot to foot and all of those things. So it's about creativity in creating interesting poses, about having some empathy with how the audience, or the artist in this case, can see you. What I'm doing when I'm posing, it's basically a dance. It's a very, very slow dance. But when I dance, I'm mainly relating to the music, and that's what I'm interpreting. So when I'm posing, there is no music, and I am just interpreting and creating stories for the artists. They're absolutely my audience. It's just a very, very, very slow dance. So definitely creativity. It helps if you don't have too many injuries. If you do have injuries, then you have to know what will hurt you. So I posed, once again, I mentioned Liron that I used to pose with in Israel. He had a body full of pins and plates from a terrible accident, so he couldn't pose for long periods of time.
Short pose.
Shorter poses. The 20 minutes was the longest that he could do. So as long as you know that, and you have to have a focus on being able to stay still, have some kind of concept of what your body is doing spatially. They're really the main things, and like to turn up on time.
Which is always, everyone, is practical lesson in life for everything, I think.
This is true. This is true. I'm a dancer, so we have this saying like a clock late, dancer early. But for a life model, I am terrible. I bring so much stuff with me. I've always got so many props and ideas and colours and things. So I do turn up with like, it looks like I packed for like maybe not even a weekend, but a whole week full of stuff that I bring.
Now, you did say that when you do pose, there is a connection or some sort of, would you like to dance without the music? I think that's the exact kind of words. Do you find there is a connection between you and the people who are drawing you? And what is that like in that moment?
Oh, also another nice question. Absolutely, and I love that. Like some models are very quiet and don't connect, but I like to talk about stuff and connect as long as they're not trying to draw a portrait because then my jaw is flapping. But yeah, it is really interesting, and I love connecting with artists like that because I'm almost in a different tangent. What they say, the two things that you should do to stave off dementia are socialise and art. And so when people come together for life drawing, you're doing both. You're socialising because you're sharing the cost of a model in the space, and people are and you are creating things, art. So I love to connect with people. Often it's very important if they're drawing you for them to connect with you as well. They get the energy, which is also why I talk to people because it also keeps me awake. If it's a very long pose, like 3 hours, you're like a computer. You know, if you don't use your computer, it kind of greys out and then eventually you'll go to sleep. That's what people do as well. So when I'm relating to people in whatever manner, then it's keeping me awake and it's keeping me alive, and my face is more animated, like the muscles are more, you don't you just kind of melt into a corner from not doing anything. So I think that's great, and I have such lovely friends in the life drawing community in Perth and around the world from doing online sessions. It's great. I really like it. That's probably the best thing about life drawing is that connection that you make, and going around to seeing what everybody's doing and how people improve. Yeah, like it's delicious. Seeing there's an artist, a lovely artist, she's out in Midvale, and every time I go to Carolyn's studio, she's doing something different, and it's constantly evolving, and I love seeing people's work get better. Yeah, and compliment them on like that is awesome.
Have you ever, when you're doing a life model, I'm going to say that obviously there are some rules that are that are attached to. I'm just going to take a wild stab in the dark. One of them I'm going to assume will be you're not allowed to film.
Correct. Correct.
And I guess I'm going to say privacy is a huge thing too.
Yeah. So like there's a few, and when I pose for lots of different places from high schools.
Yep.
There are some high schools that are allowed to draw draped and undraped models, and I love sharing their work online because like everyone in the world goes, oh, you're 15-year-olds, you're allowed to draw nudes. I said, yes, and aren't they amazing? And yes.
Yeah.
So I draw.
That could be taboo as well though.
Oh.
That's a whole nother...
Absolutely.
I might ask you about that in a minute.
Absolutely. So like I pose for... everyone from like high school students, and whether I'm draped or undraped, so draped is clothed, undraped is nude, to university students, to everyone, anyone that can draw.
Just going back to that high school, you go first.
Oh, no, what was the question again?
Yeah, I can't. It was about...
rules.
Consent. Yeah,
consent.
Rules.
Thank you.
Rules, consent.
So it's great because at those sessions, the school sessions, they will always get a talk, especially at TAFE. Yeah, I'm not allowed to do this and don't do this, blah, blah, blah. So
Don't put this on Facebook.
Yeah, I know. So like the things that you shouldn't do if you've got a life model is, don't film them, don't take photos.
Yep.
Don't be circumspect about asking, because some people, particularly new models or young models, it's very difficult to say no to people. We like that in real life, let alone and we feel that we owe people because we're getting paid. You don't owe them. People don't. Yeah, they don't need to take a photo of you. Sometimes I will allow photos if I know the people.
Yeah.
If it's a long pose, like if it's a long 3-hour pose and I know they want to finish a painting, then I will. Some people I won't because I know they never finish paintings or they just print out if I don't know them. So for those reasons, I won't allow photos. And sometimes we do. And also photographic models, if you're doing art posing for a photographer, you get paid at a much higher rate. So about 3 times the amount. Because if people take a bunch of photos of you, you don't see them for 2 years because they've got so much content that they don't need to hire you. So you're kind of doing yourself out of work. In the States, actually, I heard of a really interesting way that they deal with photos. If they want to take a photo of you, it's up to the model. They can say yes or no. And then whoever's taken the photo puts money in their tip jar.
Oh, okay.
Like, oh, yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it is.
I don't mind that one.
Yeah, no, neither do I. Go, oh, that's kind of cool. And,
Yeah.
America's very au fait on the old tipping thing. We have no
Yeah,
idea.
we're not.
Yeah, we don't know that.
Australia, we haven't got a clue.
Yeah, no, we don't. So anyway, so that's it's a perennial problem, that one, photographs. And people are so accustomed to whipping their phone out.
Of course.
Where you're like, oh, man. So they do it without thinking. So other things that you shouldn't do is don't flirt with the life model. They're like, oh, really? This sometimes happens. Going, oh, for God's sake. Don't do that. And what else? Don't approach the life model when they're nude. Wait, you might be in a break. Don't go straight up to them. Mm-hmm. And that also goes for models. If you're nude, don't go up to people.
Yep.
Because there's a very interesting power play. Yeah, it's like, you're over there, you're a nude model and that's fine. Don't be coming up to people when you're nude. And don't be going up to somebody when they're nude. Let them take a moment, put a robe on.
Yep.
And that's really good etiquette. Also, if you're the organizer of a session, make sure that the models are comfortable. Like, it's interesting, particularly in winter, you make sure that they're not too cold.
Yep. Don't do it in the middle of the rain as well.
Yeah, like rain, that kind of thing. So make sure the models are comfortable, then you give them breaks because otherwise they get broken. Mm-hmm. Often people will break every 25 minutes. I usually break every hour or something.
Yeah.
So those kind of things, that kind of like small etiquette things, but yeah, don't try and pick the flirt with the model.
No,
and don't make any comments on people's body. Yeah.
Keep silent.
Yeah, that's it. Don't make any comments. Don't say, oh, wow, looks like you've been eating well. Oh, are you pregnant? We never say that. Never second guess that unless somebody tells you. But don't say, oh, wow, like, I love your curves or like you've got a beautiful body. Don't say anything. Just don't make any comments about bodies at all. Comment them about their posing. That's a different thing. But like, don't comment about bodies. And like, I know it kind of feels weird, but like I've been in sessions where there's been 2 models and, somebody said something to one of the models like, oh, wow, you're so beautiful to draw. And like the other model feels terrible.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And because it's not about what the body is, it's about what the body can do. That's the exciting bit. So yeah, they're kind of the main things.
And I was just going to go back, I said I would, going back to the high school students. And you said, 15, 16-year-olds, are allowed. I'm sure there has to be some sort of vetting process.
Absolutely. There is. Yeah. So,
I'm sure it can't be, hey, guess what? In today's art class we got Jane. Woo, here she is. Naked. Go draw. I'm sure there has to be some sort of vetting process between you and the students and obviously the principal or whatever.
Oh, absolutely. So to pose in a school, you are generally a well-known model. You've got some credentials. You can give references, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's also working with children card.
Yep.
That that's easy peasy, but that, it doesn't mean anything.
No.
You... what else do we need? Generally, women are the only ones used in sessions rather than men. And most schools, I am draped. There are some very lucky high schools where I'm undraped and I'm nude. But and those students are just like mind-blowingly good at drawing their arts. Just guys, knock it off! Like, whoa, what are you going to be like in like 10 years? So their art is absolutely amazing. But I think it's really, and so there was one great session that I post for regularly up at Kalamunda High School. And I don't know if anybody's ever taught kids, that all kids, groups of kids, they've all got a different kind of a feel. Like some are really too cool for school and some are really, I remember this one group of kids, so it's the gate school, so the gifted and talented kids who turn up on a Saturday morning to do. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
I know.
Sleeping. That's
Like,
my sleeping
whoa,
time.
no. They come to school. A whole place comes to school to do gate stuff, gifted and talented, whether they're painting or drawing or ceramics.
Good on them. Well done. Well done.
They're amazing. So, and I started posing. I'd like assumed position, blah, and I hear one of the girls behind me go, "Oh my God, she's so strong. I wish I was that strong." I got weepy. Oh my God! And they was such a lovely group, and they were so supportive of each other's work. Like, "Oh, this is terrible. No, it's amazing. This is great." They were so supportive of each other. It was just fantastic. So I think it's really useful and great to have someone like me that's not 20-something, Fitzbo, whatever, and thin person. I'm just a regular person, and I love telling the school kids how old I am, because they think that after 35 we're all like in walking frames.
Yeah.
No. So it's great to give them a realistic image of aging and a body and women's bodies. So, and I think that's great. So most of the students are, in fact, girls at high schools. There's a few guys that are in there, and they're all really respectful and fantastic. It's great. And I found that kids have kind of got more mature, and I find the kids that do the life drawing of an undraped model, nude life drawing, are even more mature in their outlook. They're just amazing. I think they're great. I love their stuff.
Now, you said there that, you're an older model. Do you find that you kind of, with the whole ageism thing, do you find that perhaps, you're kind of championing in your life drawing, what this can actually be, rather than, some of the younger ones? Are you like teaching them how it could be, or are you see yourself as a mentor?
I don't. I'm kind of like maybe as a distant mentor for some people. They might look at me and go, "Oh, that's kind of what I want to do." But life modelling is hard work. It's like physically demanding. I break myself in so many different ways, posing, doing stupid things, because holding a pose for 5 or 10 seconds is very different to holding it to 2 or 3 minutes or 3 hours. Well, last week I did like 2 3-hour poses, so it was 6 hours of sitting still. Like, oh my goodness. So as an older model, it's kind of like, and I feel like I have to continue, because Perth is a small pool of people that are drawing. So
that's my next.
It's relatively small. So in that case, so you asked me about poses before, and some people have a repertoire that they go to. These are the poses that they do. I don't have a repertoire. I just go into whatever my head is thinking, or I've been inspired by art, or how my body is feeling that day, or whatever prop.
Whatever feels good at the time.
Yeah, exactly. All of those things, because I need to keep pushing myself and my body to continually come up with new and interesting poses that artists who've drawn me 100 times will still be interested in. Like, it's not just me or the props, but there's also lighting, or because bodies change all the time.
Of course.
All of those things. So as an older model, because I was saying, ageism, people will just walk out of sessions. People don't appreciate life modelling as a creative pursuit in itself. People think that we just do it for fun. Like, oh my God, I'm not sitting around and breaking my body for fun. So they think that we are volunteers, so they pay us like it's like we're 12 years old and like it's pocket money.
$14.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're like, oh guys. So all of those reasons. So, when we ask for decent money for these sessions, they kind of like, no, we're just going to get these bucket listers that are 20-something that just want to tick something off the list, and we'll get them to do it for free. So when you get older, you get a bit more assertive about, asking for things that are right, because people, generally in Perth, so the average rate for a life model, kind of per hour, is about $35 to $40 an hour, which is not a lot.
No, it's not. Actually, I thought it'd be more.
No, it's not.
I thought it'd be about maybe 100.
Oh, that's adorable. I'm looking for you, David. The average is like $35 to $40 an hour, so it's not a lot. And I have to explain to people that you can't just hire me for 1 hour, because you can't, you don't pay someone $40 to just turn up. It's like if you're working a shift at a bar, you've got a guaranteed 4-hour shift.
Yeah,
Like, exactly. And it's a 4-hour shift and that's it. We don't get sick leave, we don't get casual holiday loading, any of that. So a session is usually 2 to 3 hours and it's usually around $40 an hour. So it's usually like $80 to $100, $120 for a session, which is not a lot.
No.
Considering that's the only job that you're doing that day, sometimes. So those kind of things, when you are assertive in asking for your, these are pretty basic working conditions, people get narky and they'll just go, we'll just go and get someone young that doesn't really know what they're doing. So the older you get, the more narky you get. or you're perceived as like more difficult.
Oh,
yeah.
Scrape her off the list. She's too hard to work with.
That's it, yeah. We just want someone new that we can push around. Where are they? Bring them on. Somebody off the street. That'll do fine. Yeah. So, there's those kind of issues as well. But yeah, and I find that the older I get, I get inspired by other models that I follow. Like on Instagram, I see what they're doing. Oh, that's really cool. And other artists and lighting. So I'm constantly trying to make it interesting for people that have drawn me a lot.
What would you say to someone who wants to get into the industry? What would be some of your advice?
I would ask them why they want to do it. That's probably the first one, because if it's money, as I've just said...
wrong career.
Get a job in a bar, because, at least you get, weekend loading, you get, a 4-hour shift, blah, blah. If it's money, if it's a bucket list, then, why do you want to do it? Do you just want to be,
exhibitionist, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people just want to do it because they want to see how people see them. Sometimes it all depends which session you go to, because some artists are amazing and some are going, I have looked at some sessions and going, oh my God, I'm never going to eat again. Really, because we talked about confidence, but there are some days that I myself do not want to look at myself in the mirror, but I still have to go out and be nude for people. I really don't want to be nude. I feel like we all have those days. Yeah. I feel fat and frumpy, or I'm broken, or I'm tired, or whatever, and I don't even want to look at myself, but I'm still going to turn up. Particularly want to inspire women. Sorry, I'm going all over the place.
That's all right.
Question.
That's fine.
So there are some days that I don't feel confident, but I still have to go because, that's one of the first rules of being a model, turn up.
Yep.
And also...
pay me.
Also, money, I need the money.
Yeah.
And I also need to be, I talk about, ageism, we need more older models. So if I'm not walking the talk, who is? You need to be out there being 50-something, being menopausal, being whatever. You have to be out there and being that person so other people can follow you and are comfortable with that and going, okay, it's cool, it's fine, I don't have to be 20-something, this is fine. There is more beauty in the world than a 20-something, size 6, whatever, or a gym gorilla. There's beauty to be found in everybody. So I have to keep turning up. Even though some days I just want to
no, thanks.
Why can't I just have a normal job? So I would suggest that. Why are you doing it? If you're interested in, think about what kind of poses that you would like to do. Look at art. Look at any art. Frankly, look at any art. And then my biggest thing is go to a life drawing session. Yeah. There's a ton of life drawing sessions in Perth. And there is not one of them that would not love to have you there, even if you have no experience drawing, would love to have you there drawing. And don't just go to look, but definitely go to draw. Because once you're drawing, you understand what makes a good model, what is great about a model, what is annoying about a model. If they move or this is weird foreshortening, I don't really know what's going on, any of that. So, if you're interested in doing it, go along as an artist and see what they do. See how short the sessions are, see how long they are, see what the vibe is like. But to go to a life drawing session costs you about somewhere between $20 to $30, and it takes for 2 to 3 hours. So as an artist, it's really affordable. It's a very affordable thing to do to keep you out of trouble for 2 to 3 hours, keep you offline shopping for 2 to 3 hours. Really, it's a very cheap way, and you don't need anything fancy.
It's a good night out.
Yeah, it is. You don't have to have anything fancy to go to a life drawing thing. Just grab some paper out of the printer and a biro. That is fine. Yeah, and something to lean on. And that's it. And And you can scribble away to your heart's content, coloured pencils, doesn't matter. But that's probably the best advice that I can give to someone that's thinking about being a life model, is go to a life drawing session and see what it's like from the artist's perspective, because that's how you become a good model, is to figure out what the artist is seeing and see what they like.
And now you've kind of said, life drawing in Perth is a small community. And how have you found the community evolve since you started? So what was the difference when you started your career in Perth and to right up until now? What are some of the changes, not like in mindset or in attendance, just on all aspects?
David, I am loving your questions, loving them just quietly.
See, I did my research.
That's great. So, what I've found is, there's always been this is Perth.
Yeah, it's small.
It's small, but we're also, what we have to do is we make our own fun. That's what we're good at in Perth.
Yes, we are.
We're good at making our own fun. So for the size of Perth, we have a lot of life drawing sessions because, it's cheap. It's cheap entertainment. It's like 2 to 3 hours of being kept out of trouble, which is great. But a lot of these small sessions, and a lot of them have been around for a really long time, for, decades, 30, 40 years. A lot of them, before social media, a lot of people didn't know they were there.
Yes.
That's very underground. Yeah, so I found that a lot of sessions that I used to go to kind of disappeared because nobody knew they were there. So because of that, I started up some, this Facebook group started. I started up a meetup group, just so all of the good sessions, people can find them and go to them, because artists are great at doing art and they're really bad at telling people that art is on. Come and buy my stuff. Come to this session. So that's really interesting. So that's probably the main thing. There's more sessions, but none of them are particularly busy. Mm-hmm. They all love having new people at them. They're really supportive. I really enjoy that. And people are able to get educated by themselves these days, like the advent of the YouTube. I can't believe the stuff that's on YouTube. And
I've had a look at a few things. Yeah.
Wow, they can teach you. Can teach you how to do anything on all of those. So many online platforms that will teach you how to draw.
Yeah, I've seen a few.
Oh, yeah, you can get inspired. So that is a really cool thing. You don't have to go to TAFE. You don't have to go to an art school to learn about it, or just kind of I don't know what I'm doing. Get a book out of the library.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You can see so many online guides and tutorials, and it's amazing. So that's probably the best and biggest thing about it, and that's really cool.
Well, I have to make a confession to the people who are listening to. I actually, found you on Facebook. I did actually join a life drawing class because I was always in a life drawing, not a class, but a group, shall I say, because I was always interested in finding out more. And I suppose 2 reasons, because it is a unique profession. Not everyone does it. You're probably the first person that I know that has actually done it. And not only that, it's also like educating other people. And part of what this whole podcast is about, is trying to break down some of those barriers for those different careers, and trying to, there's a lot of misconceptions in various different careers. So what are some of the misconceptions that are in life drawing, or that you found in your career?
Let me see. Yeah, that it's sexual. I think you've pretty much covered them, that it's sexual and it's not. And I absolutely hate the trope. There's always the trope that there's somebody that goes to a class and it's their friend's mum that's modelling or whatever. I'm probably their friend's mum age now, but it's not something that I've just fallen into. I've been doing it for a long time. I've been doing it for 30 years, which is weird in itself. Normal people would figure out that this hurts and doesn't pay that well, and they would have stopped. I call myself the art martyr. That is just stupid. So, remind me of the question.
The misconceptions.
Thank you, misconceptions. That is, that you have to be fit. Geez, that's a classic one. I'd love to be an art model, but I need to go to the gym for 6 months. No, we don't care, because every body is beautiful. And here's I'm putting my flag into the hill now and talking about bodies. because you don't need to have like a magazine-ready body to be an art model, because everybody is valid, everybody is different and interesting, every colour and every gender, every ability, every age. They're all different and interesting, and a good artist will be happy to draw whatever is thrown before them because they will see the difference in it. Us as as models and as people with these bodies, we need to be, and I need to tell myself this regularly as well, these bodies that we that we cart around and have nude for people, they are amazing vehicles. All of our bodies are amazing vehicles. Like if our body was a vehicle, the way we treat it, it would be off the road. We don't give it enough sleep, we stress it too much, drink some damn water, have a vegetable, we sit too long, and if this was a car, it would be cactus. Like you would get no money for it at the wreckers. But we treat our bodies like this, and somehow they keep going. They're amazing. And we can get around to doing stuff with our body if we have time. Other times we are looking after people or looking after ourselves, or like mentally, let alone physically. We've got stuff to do. So don't ever worry about what your body looks like. And the great equalizer I find is when people take their clothes off. And I love that, because when I booked models for sessions, I see them going, oh wow, they look the same. They take their clothes off, they're completely different. It's genetics. It's just how you are. It's amazing, and I love that about the body, that it tells the story of who you are, where you've been your life, whether you've had a motorbike accident, had a baby, you really enjoy a cheesecake like me, or like you do yoga, whatever it is, your body will tell that story. And I find that fascinating and interesting, and that's what makes drawing a variety of bodies interesting. And it's not just what has happened to their body, but it's their experience. If you played sport, or you would dance, or you do yoga, or you just sit at a desk, and all of these people are valid because they're all different. It's the same with every ability. Like, I would love to see more people with visible disabilities as life models, but they're all too scared because I need to go to the gym. Could you just if we saw more people with disabilities, like I want to see people with colostomy bags, that kind of thing. I want to see people with amputations, and it's not because, and it feels weird saying it, or different. And it's
not trying to glorify it.
No, it's not glorifying it, it's normalising it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I want to do, because, and the great thing about, people seeing colostomy bags on people is because that's a scary thing.
But it happens.
It happens, and it happens to so many people. It's it's like normalising it and telling people about this, and if you, with your experience in a life drawing session, could scare the hell out of someone to go and actually go and do that, go and do the bowel screen and go and do it. All of those things, or it's not so bad. Look at me. I look fine. I can work, function. Ask me anything. It's almost that kind of a thing. But all of those different people, and also people with disabled people, people in wheelchairs. And once again, it feels like I'm not glamorizing it, but
normalising, and also being an advocate for change as well. Changing people's attitudes about that, and maybe getting people to talk about these kind of issues, because perhaps we know people who are that, but we're all really too shit scared to talk about it, but maybe in some sort of form, life drawing can actually, break down that barrier.
That's what I think, and because all of those bodies, like I said, every body has a story, and it's from injuries in life and all of that, and if it's a physical disability, it's a much more obvious disability, or obvious mark of life that has been left on you, but you stand different and move different, and and that is interesting. And I love seeing drawings that have captured me. I don't see it very often in a drawing. I see a lot of drawings of me because I pose maybe on average 6 times a week.
Yep.
So we see a lot of drawings of me, and some of them, not very many, capture me. And it's an essence of me, and it's the way I stand, or it's something, it's me. But everybody is different, and I love that. Oh, the other thing that I would love to see more of is, in Australia we're multicultural, but we seem to be very white.
Very white.
But it's amazing to have different coloured skin tones to draw because once again, I feel terrible asking people of different colours to come and be a model. I feel like a dick, but like light interacts with colour differently. So like, you know, if you're very, very pale, it's very interesting to draw the shadows. If you're very, very dark, then people are drawing the light shining on the skin rather than the shadows. Like, it'll like screw with their head going, oh, how do I draw this? I never get to draw this. Like, how do I draw it? It's so interesting. You know, it's the way that, yeah, it's different. And people, the more different people see, the more real nude people, the more people saw.
And the more realistic.
Absolutely. We would be more accepting of ourselves and of each other. So like, you know, life's drawing, whether it's a model or an artist is... Yeah,
I think one of the things, though, if you're going to have people from other cultural backgrounds, I think maybe one of the barriers to that might be, you know, they're not comfortable with that due to their, you know, perhaps their religious beliefs, cultural beliefs. I think that might be a barrier for some people to come and do a life model session.
Absolutely, but you have that with, like, if I inverted commas, like Caucasian people have exactly the same. Yeah, so it's like, you know, there's all sorts of impediments, hurdles to people being a life model. But like, hell, even just come along and draw. And you know, and if you're going to a session as an artist and you are getting the same kinds of models all the time, it's like, yeah, like, you know, talk to the organizer. Can we like have somebody else? Can we mix it up? Can we have someone that, you know, we always have women. Can we have a bloke?
Yeah.
That'd be fun to draw. Or could we have someone, everyone's in their 20s, could we have someone that's like, you know, 60 or 70 or something? You know, it might take you a while to find something.
Yeah,
but
still, we're willing.
Yeah, exactly. Can we have, that'd be great.
Wait a while.
Yeah, this is WA, we're making our own fun. Yeah. So, yeah, all for all of those reasons. So just draw more real people.
Well, I think that's all we have time for today.
Thanks, David.
Thank you so much for joining me on Unique Professions. It's been an absolute blast.
Thank you very much for having me, David. I'll see you at a life drawing session.
Oh, you never know. You won't see me as a life model, that's for sure. But a life drawing session, you never know. I might be able to do a stick figure.
Oh, look, you've all got to start somewhere. Don't even start me on lines of action. We'll show you how to do it. It's
okay.
a piece of cake.
All right.